exhausted and excited at the same time. Hi, this is Kathy, and you have reached me at my sewing practice. Now, my sewing practice today took me out of the house, and this past month it has taken me out of the house 3 times at least. So it started with a sew-in day at a library with my guild, and then after that my church had a retreat, and that was at a place called Peaceful Haven Quilting Retreat, and I spent 2 days there. And then lastly, I have spent 3 days here in Carmel, Indiana, going to Tomcat Stitchery's Shirt Making 101 course, where I've just met some lovely people, and if you are one of them, it was just a pleasure to meet you. So today we are going to wrap up our shirts. I have the cuffs left and buttons and hem, and so I feel pretty confident I'll be able to finish it up. I've also done some other projects, as you can imagine, in the past month, so stick around to the very end and I will show you everything that I have made while I have been sewing out of the house. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. In chronological order, I'm going to start with my activities. So this is me at the Guild Sewing Day, and I came home with a partially finished little jacket here, and I'm going to show you here that the instructions on this, it's the grab a Cuppa, by the way. The instructions are that you sew that one facing back a little bit to really get that lined up. And then when you sew the band onto the jacket, hopefully that bottom piece is really lined up very nicely. You may know that when you do a woven little jacket like this, it's done differently than when you do a knit. And sometimes that can shift. And especially when you have thick fabric like I do here. And after all that fiddling around, I would say that I got an average result. But anyway, you're going to see the finished garment at the end of the video. And as you can see, I did a crop version. Probably won't ever do a crop version again, but that's what I did here. The next thing I did is I went on an unplanned trip to San Antonio. So after that trip, I got back and I went with my church group to Peaceful Haven Retreat, and I made a couple craft projects there, and let me tell you about those. So when I was sewing out last weekend, I found that these small craft type projects are very, very conducive to that atmosphere. And I was going to make them anyway. So now this is a Bernina fabric that I really and truly did not know what to do with, but I just loved. And I think I found the perfect application. I covered a notebook with it. And then this will be my sewing notebook. And I've already started making some plans. And I got a tutorial. If you're interested, I'll link it at the bottom. But anyway, there is a tutorial that was on YouTube that gave me the exact measurements if you didn't want to work it out so far. But as you can see, I've written it down here. Those are the measurements I made. So yeah, I think it's great. She suggests that you do a little bit of decorative stitching on the inside flap. And then here's another one I made, and I'll probably give this as a gift. It would be a good man gift. And it's that fabric I have that just has a lot of icons throughout America all over it. The Rocky Mountains, the Eagles, lighthouses, etc. Crabs. And you open it up and it's pretty much the same thing. I think I did this one even the same fabric on the inside. Yeah, I did, because I've got so much of that fabric. But I'm planning on giving this to my son because I think he'll like it. And then lastly, there's these little like tug chew toys. Well, I sound like they're for a dog, but it's for a baby. Often it's made out of minky, but I had this really nice silky fabric. And then you just simply sew these ribbons and flip it out. And I put some decorative stitches there to secure the ribbons extra strong. But this will be a baby gift for a little girl that I'm going to be buying baby gifts for soon. Another thing that I worked on a lot at that retreat was the Merchant and Mills Miller vest. And here I'm showing you that I really tried working on those welt pockets. This is the pocket linings. And I'll show you more of that at the end. Hello! I'm on another trip. I don't know if I'm more excited to actually go and meet all the people or to learn how to make a shirt. So if you're concerned that I'm driving and videoing, first of all, I've got my phone mounted. And second of all, my car has that feature where it will drive itself. So look, no hands. And so I don't have as much focus as maybe I would have had in the past. But anyway, yeah, so we have a private Facebook group. That's part of how she runs her workshops, is that Jenny, which is, Whitney's assistant, she runs a private Facebook group, and you kind of get to know everybody that participates in that. So I'm more than a little excited to meet some of the class participants. We are going to meet for lunch also. And so if you don't know it, Whitney of Tomcat Stitchery, she lives in Carmel, Indiana, which is north of Indianapolis, Indiana. And I live in Louisville, Kentucky, and they're like 2 hours apart. So I get the fortunate location as far as I can actually drive to the event. So I don't have to put my sewing machine in a suitcase and fly in it. That would be such a hassle. Oh my goodness. But it's a beautiful day. It's 55 degrees and sunny. Well, I don't know what the heck happened in October, but it just flew by so fast. And I ended up just layering thing on thing on thing on thing. And I'm very happy to be at this event. This is the conclusion of my traveling, and I'm concluding with the best. But at the same time, I can't wait to get home and get back in my routine. Oh, goodness. Looks like we're going down to 65 here. I guess I'll tell my car. Yeah, other than the fact that I'm too busy, I don't really have much to say today. Yeah, and the other thing is I did record my packing, and then I thought I would record how well it worked. Because when you sew out of the house, it is a little different. And I went from like never having done it hardly, because like most of us, I wasn't really sewing that seriously, and then COVID hit. And, now we're all getting out and doing more things. So I honestly didn't really know how to do it. But I think it comes down to is you need your machine and all the things it has. And I chose not to buy a particular suitcase for it, although you could justify that quite easily. But I have my sewing machine in a suitcase. And then, of course, you need all the things that go with the sewing machine, like the cord and the foot pedal, blah, blah, blah. And then after the sewing machine, you just need a case of stuff. And it's not that, it's a lot of little things, but they're little. So it's not like you need another suitcase, of stuff. But then it kind of depends on like what the function of your event you're going to. So like if it's an open sew, you want to have your project ready to go. So you might have a couple project bags. But in this case, I did bring a project just in case I would get ahead. But I'll probably be laughing my head off at that idea at some point, because I doubt if it's going to happen. Just simply because I don't see how we're all going to cut out at the same time, if you know what I'm saying. are all going to be able to press at the same time. So even if you have a speedy sewer versus a not speedy sewer, it's getting to the station you need to, or like tonight we're all going to get measured. And what does that mean exactly? Like, will we have to take turns getting measured by Whitney? I doubt that, but anyway, I think there's going to be some taking turns involved. So you can only go as fast as you can go. And my personality is I never go first. I always usually go last. It's like, before you. That's just kind of how I'm at. But other than that, I really don't know what to expect. I haven't really done any prep work. And I deliberately have not been buying shirt patterns because I want to learn it here, So. And I'm just doing an off-white, so it's going to be such a boring, expensive shirt. But boring is not boring, it's basic, right? Well, I'm kind of a unique gal. So the unique thing that I'm going to add to your taking out, sewing out of the house thing is this phone stand. And you have probably seen it. IKEA sells it. And it lays flat when it's unassembled. And I can't put my phone on it because that's what I record with. But behind the phone, what I do is I put blank pieces of paper, which of course are just old pattern, things. And here's some, notes to myself. But the really great idea I have is that you take a blank piece and you go around the room and you write the people's names down, because the chances of you knowing everyone's name in a sewing out atmosphere are very slim. So then if you, don't have to be that person who says, I just will never remember your name, because you've got a cheat sheet. And I wrote this down in case anyone would want to, know about my channel. But to be honest with you, I don't talk about it too terribly much. But anyway, that's my secret sauce, my phone stand. So I'm going to Whitney of Tomcat Stitchery. I'm going to go to her shirt making 101 class. And so because of that, she has certain requirements of what we need to bring. And some of them are ironing related. So I know that I for sure will bring my ham in my sleeve. And that's a little unusual. I don't think I would typically bring that to a sewing group unless I was asked to. Because someone will probably have it usually. And then a little bit of a cover cloth. And then I just absolutely love my clapper. So I'm going to go ahead and take that also. I had actually broken this off and I even glued it back on because since it's shirt making, I think I'll be using the tips. But I use a clapper all the time. But goodness, I have not been home, so I have way more fabric right now than I really want to have. Well, there's a policeman. But guess what? I have my crew set for the exact speed limit. It's very flat. It's just been a flat drive. Well, I can't think of anything else to talk about right now, so I guess I'll continue to drive. And if I think of something, I'll come back. Bye-bye. All right, so I've just finished trying on everything I made this month, and I put on this athletic shirt that I made about a year ago because it got a little warm when you're trying things on so much. So now I'm coming to the part of the video that I think you're going to enjoy very much, and that is thought I would try a different light there. That is the Tomcat Stitchery Shirt Making 101 course that I took last weekend. Now, there's a very good chance that you follow Whitney over on Tomcat Stitchery. She and Katrina from Lifting Pins and Needles, I would say, are in some ways the leaders here in the sewing internet community, unless you want to, of course, include Jen with the Friday Sews as a leader also. But they all have I would say, the lion's share of the subscribers. And of course, feel free to subscribe to this channel. And I don't expect to ever be a leader on that capacity, but I sure would love to make this channel a success. So please subscribe. Now, the temperature of the facility was a little bit hit or miss just because the temperature outside was so good. And I find that commercial facilities struggle with that. But the good news is that there was a door. Now, the location of the facility was fantastic. It was about 5 minutes away from the hotels. And so we had a little time. Our first meeting was at 5:30. And so we had a little time after we got there and had lunch that we could go and relax a little in our rooms. And of course, I did fall a little bit asleep. And I got there right at 5:30 and everyone was already there. So I was the last one there. But the good thing about that is they left me a table that I ended up loving. It was the very last table, the furthest one away from Whitney, but it was closest to the door, and therefore I had a little bit of ventilation. And I just felt like since I was in the back of the room, I had a little bit more elbow room, and that is a commodity I always appreciate, is a little bit more room. So I liked where I was sitting. We all had a table that was about 6 by 2.5, so adequate but not overly huge. And we started with introductions, and we had participants from all over the United States. And I'm talking, we had one that was clear up in the northeast corner, almost to Vancouver, Canada, and then down into Oregon and across Colorado, and then Las Vegas. And then we probably skipped a state or two, and then we would get to Illinois, in Kentucky, in Indiana, where the facility was held, and then up into Michigan, and then the last one we had a participant from Maine. So we were from all over the country and all just love sewing. And we started by getting our packet. Now our packet included our fabric that we had previously picked out the color, and that was a Robert Kaufman cotton linen. And here's my fabric so you get the idea. Okay. And then we got a pattern, and it was the Cashmerette Vernon, and that is what the class was being taught from, was from this pattern. It was primarily being taught from view A. However, you can make 2 modifications if you chose. And I'm sure you could have even done straight view B, but you could have gotten a bigger collar, which is really from the view B, but I did the standard collar. Or you could use a wider cuff, and then what the view A comes with. The view A cuff is kind of small. Let me show you. And I chose view B cuff. Now, I'm just going to jump ahead and tell you right now, that was not a bad decision. However, where I made the bad decision was that I didn't account for the fact that if you're going to have a wide cuff, you probably need a little bit more length in your sleeve, because that cuff needs to sit right at the wrist. It doesn't really have enough room to go up and down. I guess when they draft wide cuffs, they probably make them a little bit more narrow. And so I wish I had not taken a length out of the sleeve, which I did, not because I have short arms, but because since the cuff was 1 3/4 inch longer than the other one, I took a little length out of sleeve to compensate for that. And I hope you followed that math right then. So anyway, the location was good, and the first thing we did were the introductions. And guys, I just totally fangirl crushed on Whitney. I mean, I can't believe I met her. I have been following her for over 4 or 5 years, and of course we do chat, but I'm never sure exactly she knows who I am. And so for her, in my opinion, it made me feel comfortable that she can now put a face with a name, because to be honest with you, I've changed Google accounts a couple times, so I'm not sure she ever knew who I was. And, I don't know how easy it is to keep names and comments straight anyway. So anyway, I was really glad to get to meet her in person, and I just kind of flipped out. So that was I'm looking at my notes. I apologize for that. So we talked about the fabric, and then also in our packet, we got some thread, and eventually we got buttons, but we got this cute little sticker. I bet you know who Gidget is, of Tomcat Stitchery. And I will stick these proudly. I might put them on my scooter. Anyway, we got those. And so the first night, as far as learning things, we learned about fitting. It's a little bit of a baptism by fire because we were also adjusting our patterns, as you can imagine, cutting out our patterns and then cutting out fabric. So there was a lot to do and just not quite enough space, but I mean, how could you have enough space for 12 people to have, 3 yards of fabric spread all the way out? So that was a little bit difficult. And most of us didn't get all of our fabric cut out. So we went back, and our interfacing fused. I mean, so that's a lot to do in a couple of hours. So as you can imagine, not many people finished. I got pretty close, but I went back to the hotel room and finished fusing my interfacing in the hotel room. And we, quite honestly, were kind of required to. So there were some participants that stayed up till 2 or 3 in the morning finishing the cutting at the hotel. Now, as far as hotel staying, of course, you could choose your own, but many of us stayed at the Fairfield Inn. And we just took over the dining room. We had previously asked them if we could, and we took over the dining room that night and cut out our fabric and, just got to know each other a little bit better. Now, day 2 was the big day because it had the most hours. And then we finished up the day by shopping at True Cotton, which is where Whitney had purchased the fabric. And of course, that's not going to be easy to watch on a video because it's a mirror. But that was the name of the fabric store, and they stayed open for us. But as far as the actual lessons those days, we learned about, so she didn't follow the book. She has her own way of doing just about every step of everything. And, sometimes I was thinking maybe her ways were just quicker, but not necessarily better. But to be honest with you, I think they're actually better. So we didn't follow the booklet at all that comes with the pattern. And if you hear anything, that's my coffee machine turning off, excuse me. But anyway, we started with, of course, your standard yoke and yoke back and bodice and, doing the burrito method. She didn't necessarily teach that. That was kind of to be expected. You would know that. But then she did teach the collar and the collar stand. And we assembled the collar and the collar stand off the shirt and then put them on the shirt. And when we put them on the shirt, we did what she called the burrito method, which is a little method she came up with. And that's how that part was. And by the way, if you want to see what her techniques for some of this stuff is, she has independent videos. I mean, she does not have a course out for this at this time, but if you follow her a lot, you might have seen, for example, how she does her collars or something. I mean, you could just Google in her searches and find it, So that first day, we were really hoped get all the way through the button placket, not with the holes, but with putting the placket on and the collar and the collar stand. Okay, so then the next day we were put on our sleeves, and I think I actually got mine on that first day. But we put them on in the flat, and then we would sew up that continuous seam starting at your cuff going all the way to your hem. And then after that, put on the cuffs. And again, she had a little bit of a different way of doing that was very similar to how she did her placket. Oh, and the other thing is that the pattern called for a continuous lap on the sleeve. And although this looks pretty good, for some reason, when I do these continuous laps, I seem to be a little bit of a fabric haul. So some people's plackets, and I don't think you're seeing that really. Ooh, well, I didn't want to show that. But anyway, some people's continuous laps might have ended up being like a 1/2 inch wide, but the way I read the pattern, it ended up being a 1/4 inch wide. Yeah, and then she left it up to you whether you wanted to top stitch around the edge, and she suggested this amount of like 1/8 of an inch or whatever if you did do it. And then, of course, if you wanted to, you could have top stitched here also. Another thing to note as far as top stitching, which of course was really your choice, but since you did the sleeve on the flat, you were able to top stitch there, kind of like a men's shirt. And we had one serger for all of us, which was plenty. And what we did is we just serged our edges and then top stitched them down. And she supplied the serger for that. And this does have darts in it, like I think I might have touched on before. And since it's cashmerette, It has an extensive size range, and it also has the 3 cup sizes. And as far as sizing goes, if you're interested, I did about a 14 straight down. Yeah, I did about a 14 straight down, and then I did a CD cup, which is the smallest cup size. So I think it fits me nice. I would not say there's extra room. Like I said, if it would shrink overly much, I might come into issues. But I think, I don't know, it's hard. I mean, I just still haven't totally figured it out because like I said, if this shirt was to never, ever, ever change its size, I think I nailed it perfectly. Can I just say that? I think I nailed it in that case. Okay, so then the last day we did our buttons and buttonholes, and that's just time consuming. She gave us a little advice on that, and she gave us some, for some reason, what did I get on screen? I always forget the name of that glue that you put on your button holes, but I think you probably know what it is. As far as mistakes, because the fabric was the same on both sides, I made 2 mistakes that I had to rip out, and they both regard in like size. I mean, sides. Like, in other words, I made 2 right sleeves, so I kind of had to modify that. Fortunately, I had not cut in, I don't think. But anyway, I had to fix that. And then when I put my cuffs on, same thing. I kind of put, let me just show you. The buttons on a cuff go towards the back, like the short part. And the buttonholes go on the other side. And I had them backwards. Fortunately, I had not cut my buttonholes open. But yeah, so those are the mistakes I made, and I just, tore them out. I did get my shirt completely finished at the clinic, and I would say, I didn't really count, to be honest with you, but I wouldn't say there was more than half of us that completely finished. But like I said, that was including the fact that I did tear a couple things out, and I did quite honestly work on my vest a little bit while I was there, while I was waiting. Yeah, I did have a little time to wait, but I determined that I was just going to hustle and do my fast sewing, like not just do, but like really, like when you are at the machine, go as fast as I felt comfortable going. I had predetermined that, but what was funny about that is it just made you so gosh darn tired because you were focusing and producing, so intensely. All right, so I think that wraps up the course. Did I tell you how great she is? I don't think I did. This is the second time I recorded it. So the first time I told you how great she is. But anyway, Whitney is the same in person as she is on her videos. And, there's just some people in this world that they just have a way with people that is truly like you want to model yourself after. And she's one of those people. She just loves to laugh, is very upbeat, but almost more importantly, just how she connects with others. And, you already feel like you're her friend, right? Without even meeting her. And then when you meet her, you're not disappointed. You still feel like somehow you are special to her. And she has 30,000 followers. So I don't know how she does that. And as far as the sewing instruction, she is a good teacher and she is very good one-on-one. And she never makes you feel like I don't have time for you. And she knows exactly where to reach, where you are in the garment. In other words, all different kinds of abilities. And she's an encourager, So yeah, I mean, I can't speak more highly of just her as a person. And also Jenny, her assistant. I mean, I talked with Jenny as much as I did Whitney, and I feel like I have a friend there also. And so they're just a great team. Okay, so I'm going to sign off as far as talking to you now, but I'm going to close the video by showing you all the makes. And I know this is a little bit of a longer video, but it just was such a big month that I wanted to show it to you. And yeah, so I will see you soon with just a more, can we say normal video? Although all mine are a little different. Okay, I will quit rambling on and I will say goodbye. Have a great day. First up is a Love Notions pattern called the Arlington. And this came out about a year ago, and I didn't get it because I actually was making some other tops real similar. But then I just really had some FOMO and I had to get it. And it is a very nice pattern if you don't have anything like it. I did make it here in a double, a Ponte Roma that has a, like a weave in it. Next is my shirt I made at the Tomcat Stitchery Shirt Making 101 class. And it is the Cashmere Vernon shirt, and again it's size 14. When I was sized for the pattern, I had on a different bra, so that is why the bust darts are a little bit in the wrong place with this bra, but that bra was dirty, quite honestly, so I don't have it on right now. And that's what I'm showing you here, and I think I'll just go ahead and drop them next time. Okay, so that's what the shirt looks like. As you can see, it just fits really well. Now, that vest I was working on at the church group, it is now finished, and I'm going to show you what it looks like with my Tomcat Stitchery shirt underneath it. And then I will later show you that you can wear this vest alone also. So this is a vintage polyester fabric that just goes to show you the quality of fabrics are just better than they used to be. But the actual print is kind of fun. I say it looks like wallpaper, but you know, it's not for everyone, but it's definitely has some autumnal hues that are quite pleasing. There's also a back tie here, and I just tied it in a knot right there. But you can also do buttons or one of those vest slides. And here are my welt pockets. So now I'm going to put it on for you. You can kind of see what it looks like. And by the way, I've got on my glissando pants. That's what I'm wearing, why I model these things. And the vest, I'm not sure. Maybe it should be a little longer. I'm not exactly sure how to, like, I guess, style it at this point in my life. But when I do make my final version, I will probably be tucking in a shirt or wearing it open. I'm not sure. We'll see. I use these gold buttons, which are showing up a little bit more silver than they really are. But here again, you can see my Merchant & Mills Miller vest. Next up, you're going to see the Pattern Emporium Grab a Cuppa Cardi in the cropped version. And I used that cashmere type fabric that Joanne sells right now. This is the only color it's being sold in. This is kind of showing you some of the line drawings, if you will. So as you can see, it's extremely wide. And unless you really kind of hike it towards the back, it wants to float out away from your back. And that is partially my age, but it's also partially just how that pattern is. And again, I'm just fooling around with ways I would wear it. Golly, it is so soft, guys. I mean, that fabric is just to die for. Now, it's extremely thick. And I'm also showing you there that top button, you kind of have to put a little bit more off the band. Okay, and then I also made this top, the game day jersey, for my husband. It's a work layering piece for him, and it's fairly basic, but you know, I wanted to get credit for making another thing, you know. And I did work on that at the ASG day in, and then I tried finishing it at the other next retreat with my church, but I don't know why. It just, all those machines there were driving me a little nuts, so I chose not to do that. Okay, and then back to the vest. This is just showing you a little bit that it is designed to be worn by itself also. And as you can see here, it does not have bust darts. I do know that one lady that I watched, she said she put a bust dart in hers, But because of the way it fits, as you can see on me, it does show the bra right there. So if I was to indeed wear it with nothing at all, I would probably have to do a little bit of modification with bras and stuff. And I'm showing you here that, yeah, the well pockets are functional. Yay, there you go. Okay, so now I'm showing you what it looks like with like a slim fitting t-shirt under it. And then I'm also reminding you that this is my wearable toile of the Merchant Mills Miller vest. I'm going to make it in this beautiful wool when I make my polished outfit. And if you want to know any more about my polished outfit, I have a whole video on that. I think it's the last video that I have published.